Cool. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pharos Fit podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I am here today with two competitive athletes in the sport of CrossFit. We have our very own coach, Anna Maguire, with us. Hey, Anna.
Hi.
And we have the infamous James Grundler on the podcast today. He's tuning in. Where are you, James, right now? Arizona?
I'm in Phoenix, yeah.
He's in Phoenix. He's tuning in from Phoenix. Both Anna and James just recently competed in the Wodapalooza event in Miami, which if any of you got to see some of it, it was a fantastic event. Probably one of the best kind of like CrossFit events I've ever kind of seen, you know, in terms of everything put together, how fun it looked, the energy of it, and also like just from a coverage point of view, it was pretty well covered. So it was good to see. So I want to kind of delve in a little while into the Wodapalooza itself, the competition, what it was, and how it all went down. But first of all, I want to introduce you guys to James and Anna. And James, I want to start with you because some of our listeners have heard from Anna before, and they're a little bit more familiar with her, but probably not quite so familiar with you. So let's tell everyone how you found the sport of CrossFit, how long you've been doing it, and kind of like where you're at in the sport.
Hello, listeners. Well, this is gonna take you way back.
Way back.
Let's put
I want to hear all about it.
Yeah. So my upbringing has always been very sport and competition driven ever since I was 5 years old. So I started. My father got me and my older brother, Bill, heavily into sports right from the beginning, not to, you know, push us and, oh, come on, let's go, let's get there. It was the sport, the competitiveness and making it fun. Yeah. And that was the most important thing about it. I think that's what gives you longevity when you, whatever sport you do, you got to make it fun as a little kid. So anyway, we started with swimming. And we started swimming competitively, especially growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, when it's ridiculously hot. And my folks were working in the summer. They gave us a place to go, basically to babysit us. Well,
right.
Hey, my dad was working construction. My mom was school teaching. So from there on, we took to the competitiveness of swimming and actually had a pretty successful career as little kids would. And then we moved on to the sport of wrestling, which is my dad's main bread and butter, and took us to a practice, which he was the local high school coach at the time, and took us to the practice and asked us afterwards, hey, do you guys like this? Did you have fun doing it? And of course, we just loved it because we were rolling around like monkeys and just being silly and just having a ball. So that being said, going forward, we just were always involved in sports. We did swimming and we did wrestling and we did track and field, and we're always being athletically inclined, always enjoyed it. Tried numerous other different things like triathlons and things like that. Bill, when we both graduated high school, we were state champions. We went to college. We both wrestled in college. Bill continued. I dropped out of school. I'm trying to make this a long story short. I got to give Anna a lot of time here, you know.
No, it's all the time in the world. As much time as you want.
So, long story short, I not only was into athleticism and competitiveness and sport, I also was musically inclined. So I was playing music and I played drums and guitar and stuff since I was a little kid as well. So I was involved in a lot of things, and I dabbled a lot across the board, and I was always fairly good at those things that I dabbled in, whether it was skateboarding and BMX.
You're one of those annoying people that's kind of good at everything, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like that, but I wasn't great at basketball. That was the one thing I just wasn't too keen on that. My eye-hand coordination with like darts, pool, basketball, even bowling, not great. Don't ask me to be on your bowling team.
Bad with anything pool shapes.
Do you guys have a Pharos bowling team? No?
Not yet, but I'm down. I love bowling.
I think you should. I love bowling. I just suck at it. Anyway, so when I got into school, things just didn't go the way I planned on it going. I had a vision in my mind ever since I was a little kid, what it would be like growing up, going to college. I wanted to go to Penn State. I wanted to wrestle on that level, Division I, NCAA, and go to that whole, essence of the sport and, follow my dreams. I wrote down when I was a little kid, I wanted to be on the 92 Olympic team and all this kind of stuff. So I had like lofty goals. And when I got to college, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like. It wasn't as hands-on from the coaches as it was when my dad was my coach.
Right.
And that was very hands-on. He took the time. And I thought that you would gain that same type of attention when you went into the university level. Now, I wasn't naive to think that that's what it was, but it didn't really fit me. We just kind of had odds. So from there, I went to the junior college, the local junior college up in San Luis Obispo after I attempted to do the university thing. And I wrestled there, and California doesn't have a national junior college tournament. They have just a statewide, because there's so many junior colleges in California. They lump it all together and they have a state championship. So I placed fifth in the California Junior College State Championship thing, which is not shabby, but it's still not the NCAA. It's not what I wanted to do. So I dropped out of school. Grades weren't great. Dropped out of school. Started to pursue my music career and just meeting the local kind of hooligans around the town at the coffee shops.
Yeah.
And I felt I needed to rebrand myself, recreate this character. Instead of being this athlete guy, I had to be the artist guy,
the band guy. Yeah.
Band guy. And it was such a trip to almost take that athlete and put him away in a box.
Yeah.
I had to like pack him up, put him away, because I didn't feel that playing rock and roll music was the right arena for like a jock or something like that.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's so interesting that you say that. And I'll tell you a funny story. So
Sure.
when I was kind of growing up, I had a very kind of similar story. I kind of had this like internal battle between my physical self and my artistic self.
Yes.
And I remember writing this song when I was in my early 20s called The Ram and Fiddler. And it was like, I had the ram part of myself, which was like the physical guy. And then I had the fiddler part of myself, which was the musician guy.
Exactly.
Like,
so, there it is.
I just didn't know where to put my energy.
Well, it was a weird dance. And I felt that it didn't exist in that art realm at the time.
Yeah.
I have a totally different idea about that now. Yeah. But at the time, I felt I had to kill off that side of me to pursue this thing like wholeheartedly, become that character. I did that a lot through basically my whole life. I would basically create this character. I felt like I wasn't really being me. I had to be somebody else to do this other thing.
Yeah.
You're
inventing an image almost.
Exactly. It's all about inventing yourself. And I would do that while I was wrestling. I would pretend I was Dave Schultz. I would pretend I was, so-and-so, Dan Gable, or whoever it was. I would pretend I were these great athletes, and I would mimic their style, and I would do the whole thing. It worked. It was a successful way of going about it. But to me, it still felt like that wasn't me, which is weird. It's a weird psychological thing.
I get it.
And the same when I went into the music thing, I had to become a different person, so to speak, a new character. It was always me the whole time. But anyway, that's a whole therapy session. That's
always that thing between the private self and the public self. And your private self was very different, but your public self was this image of the musician guy.
Yeah. And so I went down that road being the musician, and I played in local bands, and I played around, and I played and played and played. And I didn't work, and I was living on couches to the point where I was living in a garage, to the point where I was living on top of a roof of a Starbucks with a buddy of mine. Oh yeah, it got pretty. If I say the story to most people, and even when I say it to myself, I'm like, wow, you're an idiot. But it's things that you have to do to get to where you want to go. These are the sacrifices you have to make to be successful. I felt like I could really be successful in the music world. I felt like I really could do it. My parents did not. My dad begged and pleaded, just come home. Just come home. I'm like, no, I'm going after my dream. And I took that dedication from sport, the dedication from being an athlete, and sacrifices that you have to make to be a successful athlete. I took that same mindset and I used it for the musical path.
Well, it's true.
Not knowing.
Yeah. But any like successful musician, I mean, more so like of the generation that we're from, you read the stories about, before they were famous, what happened, and it's always a story of struggle.
Yeah, you don't hear that much anymore.
No, because it's different.
You don't hear that. It's totally different. But in the old days,
you had to earn your spurs more,
You got to earn your stripes. And there was a romantic side to it too. You fell into this Jack Kerouac kind of,
for sure.
You're this vagabond, but you don't want to taste the good life yet, because it's inspiring you for all of the stuff that you're creating at the time.
Exactly.
So it's like this, it's a weird place to be in. You want to keep this hobo, lifestyle, because it really gives you this art. It creates this character, it creates this artist and all this stuff.
Yeah.
If you become successful,
it's a trap. Yeah.
It's a trap. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like why the first 3 albums are always the best albums, and after that, people get a little bit of money, people get a little bit comfortable, and then what do you write about?
Exactly. No, it happens to everybody. It happens to every artist under the sun. Most writers, like Hemingways and people like that, or poets, they really resent success.
Yeah.
They want it, but they resent it at the same time. And that's why a lot of them become these, drug addicts and alcoholics and everything.
Yeah. I have a theory, kind of like, you have to make that transition between telling your story to being able to tell someone else's story really successfully. So the ones that do have longevity, they can take the story beyond themselves and tell someone else's story in an authentic way that still rings true to the listener.
Sure.
Whereas if you try and like keep telling your story when you're a rich man, no one wants
it doesn't make any sense. Nobody wants to listen to Bono or Mick Jagger. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's like, it was great when you were those young kids in the 60s and the 70s, and you were really you could see it, you could feel the earnest, but it gets watered down.
Gets harder, for sure.
Yeah, it gets harder. So moving on, I stuck with it. I used that determination and played around in the band scene in San Luis Obispo and traveled around California and stuff. And eventually we moved down to Los Angeles in 96, and basically 6 months later we had a record contract with Epic Records, and we put out an album and we toured the country and we did all this really wonderful stuff. But then the band broke up.
Right.
So the band breaks up. You have to reinvent yourself again. And what was interesting about that time is that I also was learning how to be a songwriter at the same time too. So it was all a school of life, teaching how to do it. So what I would do is I would throw myself into everything I could to gather inspiration, whether it be drugs and alcohol and, different groups of people and all I just was swimming around in this ooze of
90s,
weird,
90s rock. Awesome.
Just all of it, just crazy, seedy, up all night, just figuring it out, just living life through that whole thing.
Yeah.
Raving, the whole craziness, but eventually it takes its toll. And I mean, long story short, we signed it with I got another record deal, did the whole thing, toured the world, did all the blah, 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 put out records, and all that was great. All that was fun until you reach a point and your body just doesn't have the conditioning to keep going down that road. And you wind up, you're just in tears almost every time that you go out, because you're like, it's your body basically saying, can you just stop?
Just calm it down a little. Yeah.
Just calm it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So what happened was I started to get more time on my hands because I wasn't touring as much. I wasn't doing the intense kind of ritual of rock and roll. And there was when Groupons were first kind of coming out, Brick had a Groupon of all places, which was really funny. Side note, yes. Side note, Bill, my older brother, after he went to school, he continued through after graduating to be a firefighter. And that enabled him to still kind of explore his athleticism, having to be physically fit to do all this kind of stuff. And he was programming workouts at the time. This is before HQ had anything out, before CrossFit was putting anything up. Then he stumbled across CrossFit. He became a fanatic. You know how when everybody does it for the first time, how crazy CrossFitters I still see it. When people first start CrossFit, they become addicted. Everybody, addicted. Everybody seems like they're in a cult. It's just massive craziness.
They go out, they buy the long socks, the tiny shorts,
yes,
the cropped up, the headband.
Even when their body's not ready yet to do
right.
So he introduced me to this thing called CrossFit, and he was a fanatic. He loved it. I started just dabbling in it. It was like, oh, here's a 2159. Cool. Here's a little EMOM. Cool. Like little things like that. I was terrible. So, but it was still me at the same time dabbling in CrossFit. And it was like, kind of started doing it, but I'm also trying to be a rock and roll star at the same time. And we're just kind of like doing this. So I'm like dabbling in it. This was that fight, the crossroads, basically.
Yes.
What was happening? Like the crux of my life.
What year was this? Like 2009 or?
Oh, this had to have been 2007 or 8.
Right.
2007 or 8.
So fairly early on in the CrossFit.
Very, very early on in the CrossFit world. Side note, I was so out of shape. Like I wrestled on a collegiate level. I wrestled in Division I level. I was on international teams. The point that my body took such a transformation doing the rock and roll thing, I couldn't even do a pull-up. I needed to use the assisted machine at the LA Fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so far out of shape. It was nuts. So as the music thing started to wind down, I started to feel that explosiveness of the endorphin rush that you get from a workout.
Yeah.
And that was how that athlete that I boxed away for all those years started popping up like a little clown pop-up.
Yeah.
There he was. The athlete's back. And then I was like, well, shit. Can we live in the same atmosphere together?
Right.
And I started down that path of CrossFit. And like I said, I got a Groupon, and Brick was the first place I started to officially go to. And it was interesting because Bill was already being a competitive CrossFitter. He was going to the regional, or before they even had the regional thing, they had their sectionals. And even before that, before it was video submissions, it was just that you would do something online. That's kind of what it was.
Yeah. And
then they had the games they just invited people out to Rome. It was a beer and barbecue fest. And then Bill was hooked. Bill was into it. And at that time, he was still the oldest person doing it competitively.
Yeah, I remember
that. Yeah, it was really shocking to a lot of people. But most people don't realize that guy was already training. Even through college, he still stayed training.
Yeah.
So he kept that fire going, and a lot of us older athletes tend to walk away from our athletic side. For what reason? Yeah. No one really knows. Maybe injuries, or you're just too old and you're just too tired of it. So it gives you some time for your body to basically heal itself, and then you can come back to it again, and then you might have some success with it on an older scale. But so Bill was into it. I knew Bill was into it. I go to his competitions, and it was really fun and exciting to finally get back into that arena of cheering people on and being around athletes. And I remember how silly it was. My first time ever going to a CrossFit. This is before I even started doing it for real. But I went to his first live regional event. I don't know if it was regional. It was held down in Fullerton. I think it was Fullerton, and it was at this police academy. It was where the first one was. I think Rory McCurran was there. He was competing at the time, and it was in the dirt, like barbells in the dirt. It was dusty and disgusting. But man, I was like blown away at the way people looked. I was so used to people being so heroin chic and flabby skinny and all this kind of stuff. I come to this event and people are just physically fit. The women are just so gorgeous but muscular in tone. And I just went, wow. And I'm looking at myself and I'm just going, holy shit. this world, I'm in the wrong universe right now. And it was kind of scary to realize that, wow, it was so unnatural to me to see that kind of body shape and people being as fit as they were. And at that time, it wasn't that mind-blowing as it is now. It's unbelievable how people have gotten now. But because I've been in it now for so long and I do it for it doesn't shock me. The shock factor is gone.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, oh, these are just CrossFitters.
Well, and I think what is true, and I think Greg Glassman said it a few years ago, it's like, no matter what people say, CrossFit did develop a very kind of specific physique, because it was kind of like, it was athletic, but it was also muscular, and it was also very functional. And it was just a shape that didn't really exist before, because you had bodybuilders, and you had triathletes, and you had sprinters, and they all had physiques. But then the CrossFitter, because they were, crossing all these different paths, they developed a very unique physique. And I think it's especially true with women. I think the female physique that has come out of CrossFit is almost, you can't compare it to anything else, because it's such a specific.
Yeah, it's its own thing now. Yeah, it's its own thing, because you have a human being now that is capable of doing, like you said, everything across the board. It's not a long distance runner. It's not a triathlete. It's not a bodybuilder or a fitness model. It's not, a hockey player it's not neither any of those, because it's all of those at the same time. And you have to be able to do all that kind of stuff. And you're right. It has evolved that human body into its own specific, but I think it's what the human body is. It's really, if you are to do this is the kind of like the residual of what you get from doing multiple different things. I think that's what the primary focus of the sport of CrossFit really was, allowing the human body to being able to do all this. It's having the ability to do all that stuff, and you have to train it to be able to have the ability. I mean, I would dare to argue that primordial man had a very similar body style, because they had to do so many different things. I mean, that whole hunter-gatherer thing isn't just running and sprinting, but you have to lift heavy objects. You have to do these short bursts of
and James, I think that was the huge appeal of CrossFit in the beginning. And we saw it was kind of happening at the same time as the whole paleo diet thing, and it was a return to a primal state, and everyone was kind of like tired of the machines and everything.
What was his name? Rob. What was his name?
Rob
Who
Wolf?
did Rob Wolf? Yeah. Him and Glassman were like they came out right at the same time. It all came out
at the same time, and it was just a return to simplicity, almost, of like, let's just get back to like simple things and how the body should be moving in nature and that kind of stuff. And it was, everyone was kind of into it at the time. And from this point, James, how long did it take? Because I remember, and I don't think I've ever told you this, but I remember watching. It was the first CrossFit Games that you were in. What year was that?
Oh God, 2000. I have it right here.
There you go.
What's it? 2015? Is that what that is?
2015.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the commentators talking about the games, and obviously Bill had been around for a while, and in their eyes, you'd basically come from nowhere, and it was like, how the fuck does James Grundler like suddenly qualify, like from nowhere, suddenly qualify for the Masters and go to the games? And everyone was like, "This
Pretty
is
much.
everyone was like, it's fucking unfair." And then like him and Bill have just got these crazy genes, but obviously
Well,
they hadn't seen that you'd been, you know, an athlete as a, you know, in
yeah.
your
I mean,
teens and youth and-
that's the thing. Bill and I, we were, you know, kind of gifted this lifestyle from a very early age.
Yeah.
Do we have good genes on top of it? Probably. Our dad was a specimen.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, he was definitely a specimen, and I think
Well, and I think a specimen in terms of physically, but also gave you that
he
mental
was,
side.
yeah, he to me, he was the embodiment of what a true athlete, a true competitive athlete. I don't want to twist it. It's like most people can be athletes. You can do all this stuff, but I mean a high level competitive athlete. He was the ideal specimen for that because that guy had the mindset
Yeah.
of the highest level of any sport, professional sport. He had that mindset of I'm going to do whatever it takes to win kind of thing. He had the discipline, he had the wherewithal, the discipline. He knew what he had to do to get there. And I think he instilled a lot of that character. I think I'm definitely softer than my dad. My dad was way harder than I could ever imagine being. I think I was more of a mama's boy, but you know, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is a mind. It takes a specific mindset to be
Honestly,
good at,
I think Bill's more like my dad. I think he's
right.
more like that. He has this kind of like no nonsense, black and white. Whereas I kind of like dabbled in this flowery creative world. So I'm like, yeah, but there's also gray areas too.
Yeah. Yeah. You have that more.
Yeah.
You have a stronger feminine side.
Yes. Yeah. I'm more of a little more effeminate than.
Yeah. Speaking of feminine sides, Anna, let's bring you in at this point. So James,
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. What are you
no, we'll come back to you, James. Don't worry. So James has kind of got to this point where he's left fitness. He's done the rock and roll star kind of thing, and he's gone back to fitness. And he kind of came into CrossFit like a little bit later. How old were you, James? Sorry, when you finally like committed to CrossFit, were you 30 at that point, or older than that, right?
When I committed to it, oh no,
When did you start? When did you start? Like, when did you start CrossFit?
When I started for real, joined a gym and stuck to a gym, which was brick CrossFit. Like I dabbled in it when Bill started Inferno years before that, prior to that. So that I would have to say probably 2000. I would say the probably 2012, 2013, early 2013. Yeah.
So you were what?
That was commitment.
How old were you then?
43.
43.
43. Yeah.
Okay, so James is 43, and Anna, obviously, you got into this whole thing a lot younger.
Yes, but I would almost say so. March of 2015 is when I like started at a gym and like stayed with it. So not that far after James.
Yeah, but you're coming into it as a younger human being, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's what he meant, Anna.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
And what do you think from growing up, the way that you did prepared you for this sport, and why do you think it appealed to you so much?
So I actually grew up doing gymnastics. I think I started that when I was maybe like 6 or 7, and then I did that until high school, and then I did it a little bit in high school, and then after that, between like leaving high school and starting to college, I would just go on runs. I would run by myself and like make myself do burpees and push-ups. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And it wasn't until my uncle brought me to a CrossFit gym one time when I was visiting him. I think I was like 18. I tried my first CrossFit workout, and I was so sore the next day, I like couldn't stand up straight. And for some reason I was like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. The pain is addictive.
That's it. Yeah.
So from there, I guess.
Were Were you a competitive person growing up, Anna? Were you competitive in gymnastics?
Yeah, I was not like at like a really high level, but I was in like one of like the first or second years where like you learn routines and you get like the leotards and stuff. So I wasn't like so amazing, but I wasn't terrible. Like I did
But
like
from a mindset point of view, were you a competitive person growing up?
it wasn't even like competitive. It was more of like I want to be like the best that I can be. Like I want to be like it was seeing like growth was like addicting. Like I wanted to just like how good could I keep getting? I guess I was competitive, but
with
also was
yourself.
always like, what can I do?
Yeah, because I've spoken to so many people who have become either very good at CrossFit or became very into CrossFit. And so often the story is, I played rugby as a teenager. When I stopped playing rugby, I had a gap in my life. It's like I used to have this competitive side of myself and I kind of lost it. And then CrossFit came around and I was able to get it back again because it gave me an arena in which to vent that competitive spirit. So it's always interesting when I speak to people because obviously James had it in wrestling and in swimming. And when it comes back around, it's like it reignites all those sensations you had when you were younger. And I think the same for you, Anna. Maybe you weren't such a competitive person, but whatever was missing or had been missing for a while suddenly came back in, and it gave everyone like this new space in which to create that or recreate that self that you used to know. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing about CrossFit, and that's what really made it.
I think CrossFit even also indirectly taps into the ego, of the human psyche. It's the ego because most people that step into a CrossFit gym are sizing everybody up. They want to be the best. That whole whiteboard thing, and it's a natural recurrence that happens within the CrossFit world. Whether Glassman wanted to turn it into a competitive thing or not, it just happens because human beings have egos.
Yes.
We are naturally competitive. That's why it works. I mean, look at Anna, she's like, I just wanted to test myself.
Yeah.
And that's what most people do. They want to test themselves. There are the few that are like, I want to be the best in the whole room.
Right.
I want to beat that guy, or I want to beat that girl. I want my name to have the best time on it, or I want to be the top of the board. Yeah. I mean, that happens as well too. But I think majority of the thing is you want to see what you can do.
Well, I think on that point, you had like these insatiable competitors that like the Matt Fraser and the Rich Froning, they're like competitive to a fucking annoying degree.
Totally,
like,
yes.
If you had a game of Scrabble with them, they'd be fucking miserably competitive.
Yes,
It would be horrible for everybody.
They are on that level that's why they're games champions.
Yeah.
They are ruthless competitors.
Yeah.
Ruthless. Yeah.
But I think and I think Rich probably enjoys it for fun now more than Matt kind of does. But I think
don't know.
If you
not
take
after this weekend.
I know they came in fifth place.
Yeah, but
really?
What was going on in the athlete briefing? Were you up on where the athletes were working out, like warming up, the warm-up area?
Yeah.
So there was the big group of everybody was hanging out talking about what to do because the ground was all wet, so the flooring was wet, and they were like, "What are we gonna do?" And Rich was like, "It's unsafe, and we shouldn't have to do shuttle sprints or handstand walks because it's unsafe," and blah blah blah. And literally, Rich was the one that kind of turned the corner for everybody there. Like he was playing the game because he knew he had the judge's ears. He knew he had the competition director's ear. He knew he had everybody's ear. And he's like, "Are we going to get this together? Because I got a flight at 9:30.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's take a step back then, and let's talk about the Wodapalooza. First of all, how did you get to the Wodapalooza? What was the like the qualifying process? And then why? And then we'll go into why do you think the Wodapalooza has become so successful and almost not eclipsed the games, but it seems to be almost a more vibrant competition than the games.
That's what I think.
Oh, it's cooler than the games. It's way cooler than the games.
Okay, so let's talk about how did you guys get there?
Just an online qualifier.
Yeah.
Just your standard online qualifier that they have. They do have the thing, if you're a previous champ, you get the golden ticket and you can come back. Or if you won the games, you can go.
And was this the first time either of you had been, or had you been before?
I've been before. Yeah.
Before.
I think it was 2000. That's where I met Jake. I met Jake for the first time. His first year at Wodapalooza. Yeah. Yeah.
And have you noticed a big transition from then to now in terms of the scale of it?
Oh man. So the first time I went, I thought it was a spectacle, big time. I thought it was a full rave, a fitness rave, Burning Man for CrossFitters kind of thing. And
right.
But all the stuff that they had this time, so they built up the park as well. They made all these big mounds and things, and it was crazy. They didn't have that when I was there the first time. At least I could not recall. It was definitely a smaller vibe. The warm-up area for the athletes was by the bay the first time I went, and spectators were walking by and all this, and like it was kind of this real interactive, very, very community driven and stuff. Whereas this time it was the athletes are way up in this thing, you couldn't get to it. It was all, you better have the right wristband. It was much bigger. The vendors were on top of each other. You felt like you were in this little rat's maze trying to get around. It was pretty chaotic.
Right.
But super exciting. I mean, that's the part that I think that people really enjoy, is the chaos that goes on in those events.
Yeah, the energy of it. That chaos brings a certain energy.
I mean, imagine, like, especially after all this, lockdown crap and everything like that. I mean, they had 15,000 people.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know how many people were there, but it was a lot.
It was a lot, 15,000, and for a 3-day pass, it was $600.
Oh,
15,000.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was the most I've ever spent for a competition. It was nuts. The games isn't even as expensive to register as an athlete.
Right.
That part, the economic, that's a whole nother story.
So let's talk about, so you get that you do your online qualifier. Now, something that always kind of amazes me, and James, it's going to be a different thing for you as it is for Anna, I guess, but the amount of events you have to do in the 4 days you were there, 3 days you were there, how many days was it?
It was 3 days.
So you're there for 3 days, and how many events did you do?
There was
6, 7, 6, yeah.
So 6 or 7 events. How the fuck do you recover from that? How the fuck do you do an event, recover quickly enough to do another event? And how much of it is about not getting injured so that you could stay?
Well, here's I think Anna's heard me say this, and maybe Pete, you have too. Like, you don't need to do the heavy hours upon hours of training all year round. You do that 2 months leading up to your competition, because you have to prepare the body. The thing that you need to do going into a competition, like the games or like Wodapalooza or like the Granite Games or things like that, you have to prepare your body for competition stamina. It's a totally different thing than just going to the gym and being fit, or, that's the problem with most CrossFitters. They overtrain, then they're injured by the time they get to the competition, or their body's completely fatigued going into the competition because they just overtrain themselves to death. You need to do that a month to 2 months out, and that's it.
And then you need to taper.
Yes. So that being said, I did not do that.
Well, we should also say James is a new dad as well, right?
You just had a baby.
Yeah, I mean, I had the baby thing, and that's I'm gonna use that card for a little while. But no, man, it really made I could totally tell the difference from when I was training for the games or training for the Wodapalooza or training for like a big event. The amount of training I used to do as opposed to what I do now. What I do now is, man, bare minimum, I'm getting in 2, maybe 3 workouts a week.
Right.
Maybe. And then that's not, even counting, not even getting any sleep on top of that. So recovery is just complete shit. But going in, you could see the difference. You could see the difference of people that tuned themselves up, because that's what you do. You got to tune yourself up for that kind of long distance training. It's a lot of long, you can think about it. You're doing 2 workouts a day, back-to-back days.
Yeah.
2 to 3 workouts, depending on what competition you're at. And you're also going at 100% each time. It's not like in the gym where you pace yourself through all your, let's say you're doing 3 or 4 workouts a day at the gym.
Yeah.
Okay, I got my strength piece, my accessory, blah, blah. You're pacing yourself. You're not going at 100% every time you step on the floor. You're not. So you can't, especially if you're going to be training like that, but you have to prepare yourself for that. And man, oh man, I could see the difference. Even from the first workout, I had gas going up and then coming back around for the last part of the workout. And I just was like, well, it was the strangest thing, feeling I'm trying to pull from wherever in my body energy. And I'm like, is there anything? Nope, nothing's in there. I'm like looking in closets, basically. Anything in there? Nope, nothing in there. Oh, is it? Oh, it's like a half-eaten Ritz cracker. Shit. You know,
Right.
and that's what you see in this type of competition and at the games too. And it shows too, people a lot, especially in the masters side, a lot of masters start dropping off.
Yeah.
And like 4 or 5 of them didn't even show up on the last workout.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to recover from that amount of intensity. Did you have stuff available like ice baths and stuff like that? Was that available?
Yeah, you had to. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So you have one of the sponsors there, a Roasty or whatever. They do the games and stuff, and I think it's fine what they do, and they offer it. It's great, but the problem is when you have 2,200 competitors who you have to fill out on the waiting list, you gotta, okay, make an appointment. Well, we have an opening tomorrow at 3. Oh, that's
right.
what my thing is,
That's during my event.
Yeah. So that it sort of works out, sort of doesn't. So you hope, I mean, if you have the money, you can bring a body guy out with you and things like that. We would do that for the games and stuff. We'd bring a dude out, kind of work on you every night if you need it. But yeah, I mean, even the ice baths, they were locked up with them. So I bought one of those Theraguns while I was there. I was like, shit, man, I need something. I don't have anything. I literally, after the first day, I was like, holy shit, man, I got 2 more days of this shit. Oh, fuck. This is going to hurt.
Yeah. Well, that for me, that seems to be almost the biggest thing about it. Is like, it's not how fit you are in one event. It's how quickly you can recover in time for the next event. And
it is absolutely, it's all about recovery. It is all, you want to see it firsthand. That's what it is at a competition, because everybody, for the most part, all has the same skills and they're all about the same strength. It's who has the mental and the physical recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we talk about tapers, because just so people who are listening are clear, would you, if everything was like on your side and you didn't just have a kid and everything was like how you wanted it to be, would you do almost like an event replication, like maybe 3 weeks out from the competition or 2 weeks out from the competition, where you would do like maybe 3 days where you were doing 2-a-days to replicate the event itself? And then you take kind of like, you taper off, maybe with those last couple of weeks, you do like minimal workouts just to keep you like tuned. But
I think if I were to have stayed on a competition schedule leading up to the Wodapalooza or the games or whatever it is, whatever your competition is, I think if you're hitting it hard, 1 to 2 months out, a week before, 2 weeks before you do a simulation.
Yep.
And then you just stay in tune, because you're not going to lose at that point. You're not going to lose
strength.
You're not going to lose strength. You're not going to lose your conditioning. It's all all relative at that point. Really, it's going to benefit you to have your body recovered and as fresh as possible going in. That's what you want. You want the freshness.
Anna, did you feel that way?
Yeah, and I've done competitions before, so I know how important it is to be like well rested. Like, you have to eat even if you don't feel like it. Like, the first morning I woke up, I like made sure to have like 2 things of oatmeal. I had like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I was like walking around eating cereal and like drinking my coconut water.
Right.
And I didn't realize this, because on the last day, on Sunday, I was like, I woke up and I was like, like, I think I'll be okay. Like, I don't need to eat anything. And then like, for sure, like during the middle of the workout, I was like,
holy fuck. Yeah.
Fuck my life. I was like, I should have eaten breakfast. I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Hydration and getting your
electrolytes, all that stuff.
Oh my God, dude. Like that was the thing. especially with the older crowd, everybody would talk about how much water they drank the night before.
Right.
You just load up with
Yeah.
so much hydration the night before. Yeah, you want to eat. Yes, you do want to have stores of energy in your body, but the hydration, that's how you get recovery. It's getting those cells all plumped up.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want some fat, plumpy cells.
So once you're there, you've done the events, and you kind of like, you're in the aftermath of it and you're kind of processing everything. How do you feel about how it went and what would you do differently? Now, obviously, James, we just kind of talked about what you would do
you don't need to
differently.
talk to me.
You wouldn't have a kid, you wouldn't go in like as you were, but having experienced the Wodapalooza this year, did anything become aware to you like, oh, next time I need to do this more? Anna, we can start with you on this.
Yeah, start with Anna.
I mean, everyone knows that I work out a lot. So I didn't get sore. Like I wasn't ever really sore. Like my upper back got like a tiny bit sore from doing legless rope climbs. But other than that, my body felt pretty good because I was like, I'm conditioned to take on more volume than I do over weekends of competition. What am I going to do this year? I think I'm going to start swimming.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't scared to swim, but definitely didn't do a good job of swimming.
Well, here's my thing. Here's my thing. And the other thing I want to point out, Anna, is like, this was the first time you did team, right? You've always been individual before.
I did team the last time I was at Wodapalooza too. I've never gone individually, no.
And how did you find team? Because you always train on your own. So how did you find team?
These two girls I actually met at a competition. Well, actually, that's a lie. I did the competition I met these two girls at. We were all competing individually.
Right.
And then like just became friends in the warm-up area when we were like snatching or something.
Okay. So how was it working with a team as opposed to training on your own?
It was fun. I think it was more fun because we were all really good. So it was like easy to be like, okay, I'll do this and you do that and you do this. And like when you're done, like we'll switch. So there was never really like, oh, you can't do that. So like one of us has to stay in longer to do what you can't do. It was very like there was a good flow. And
but
I think
presumably you're at a disadvantage because some of these teams who are there train together all the time, right? And you're kind of like throwing it together.
Yes. Would we have done even better, like being able to practice as a team? Yes. It all just kind of comes down to communication, like beforehand, and like, you know, all three of us like really understanding like what each of us are going to do.
Right. Knowing each other's capabilities and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And just being ready to like switch if we have to.
Yeah.
I think there was one team who did like really well on the like worm clean and jerk, which is like a 4-person sandbag basically.
Yeah.
And you all have to pick it up at the same time and put it on your shoulder and then bring it to the other side and put it down. So like that requires like actual practice where we didn't really have that, but we still did okay on it.
And when you both finished the competition, like, were you like, I can't wait to do this again? Or were you like, fuck this, I'm fucking over it?
I'm already telling people, I was like, I can't wait for next year.
Right. Because you're a nerd.
Yes.
You're a CrossFit nerd and you love it. James, how did you feel?
Oh no, I was amped up, ready. I was like, let's get to the open. I want to get to the open. I want to see these guys on the leaderboard again.
Yeah.
Because I knew, you know, like you said, I mean, I knew my handicaps going into the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
even if that's not a handicap, like in your mind it is. So it's like, I know I'm not.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, I finished third. I was second the whole weekend.
Right.
You know, I really wanted to beat the guy who won it.
It's like, so if you
really
can do that, if you can come that close when you're not training, like imagine what you
exactly.
can do when you,
Well, that's the thing, and of course, you know. So I am like, I'll see everybody I'll see you guys on the leaderboard. You know,
that's awesome.
You know, I'm excited. I'm excited.
One thing that I do kind of think, kind of touching on what we talked about earlier, where there is so many different sports involved in this one sport, and you have to be good at so many different things. And now there's the whole fucking swimming thing, and maybe even like cycling. Sometimes there's the biking kind of stuff, the off-road biking kind of stuff. It's like, where the fuck is everyone meant to fit in all this time? because it's not like it pays you anything. Like you're not getting paid by CrossFit to compete. So, and the chances are you're not going to win any money. And if you do, it's not going to be very much.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare your week so that you can swim and you can run and you can be in the gym and you can be outdoor? How do you fit all this shit in so that it still makes sense in your life and not be like, this is just impossible. I can't possibly do all these different things in a week.
You become a coach at a gym.
That's it.
That's how you do it. You become a coach at a gym, and so you have access to whatever you need, and you just know that you're going to be spending your whole day at a gym.
Yeah.
Don't have a baby. No. I mean, it's impressive. Even like Vellner, he must have like a really kick-ass nanny or something, because that guy just, he looks so good. I'm like, how are you not sleeping, or did your baby just sleep, or what happened? Because that's a brand new baby that you just got. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it takes, as I say, it takes a village. So if you've got like either very supportive family members or,
yeah, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. I mean, that's how he makes a living, and he's proven that he can make a living doing it. And I think his wife and family all go, you sleep, and we will. You are the breadwinner.
Yes,
so,
it has to be. It has to be that way. I mean, it really does. There's no other way of doing it.
Or you get the guys in my division going, that's a young man's sport.
Right. Well, honestly, and I don't think it is in terms of like. And I had this lady Lekka Feynman on my podcast before, and she's a masters athlete as well. And I was saying the most impressive thing to me about CrossFit is that people of a certain age are still doing it, and they are. I mean, to think that 60, 65-year-olds, 70-year-olds are doing this stuff.
I'm talking about having babies.
But I mean, like there is now an aesthetic and an ability and a skill set in that age demographic that never existed before.
No.
It's so impressive to me that people are still competitive at a later age, and I think it is one of the great things about CrossFit.
What's exciting about it too is that, sorry to cut you off.
No.
What's exciting about it is that you actually, what's impressive to me is looking at the older demographic doing this type of fitness. That impresses me, not some young kid.
No, yeah. It's like
clean and jerking 315 for 3. That I don't care.
No, I don't care. You should be able to. You're young.
A 60-plus-year-old guy doing ring muscle ups and overhead squats. Whatever the weight may be, but doing these things where mobility is very, very limited. Yeah. That's cool. That's exciting. Cool. These women doing this stuff. It really is fascinating. It's fascinating.
James has really good mobility.
For an old man, you mean?
I hope that my mobility
for an old guy. Yeah.
For an old dad?
No, I've seen him squat clean. I've seen James squat clean 275 and it looks good.
Yeah.
Wait, squat cleaning is easy though.
Yeah.
It's overhead squatting that's the hard part for old people.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. I mean,
how are you guys feeling about CrossFit in general and where it's going? I mean, obviously we've seen so many changes in the last couple of years, and no one's really been quite sure what's going on, and we don't have all the information about who's doing what or like what money's involved and who's sponsoring what anymore. But how do you feel about the company and the sport in general? And do you think it has plenty of longevity, or do you think it's doomed?
Right.
Anna,
you want to take this?
I don't think like that much is going to change. Like when they said that there was going to be no more regionals after 2018, I was like, fuck, CrossFit's over. And we still have it. So I'm not that worried about it. There are too many people who like it.
Right. Yeah. James,
I guess it really depends on how you see your future in CrossFit as an athlete. If you are gunning for the games, then it should really concern you what's going to happen next. If you are just like, well, I'll never get it to the games, but this is really a lot of fun, then you got exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be the same thing. Yeah. Hopefully the programming is just on equal or better. I mean, hopefully that's the case. But it really comes down to, if you are a competitive athlete at the highest level, then you have something to worry about, because you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know how the events are going to be scheduled. You don't know if there's going to have these type of events anymore. I mean, a lot of that kind of stuff is up in the air on that term. But I think for the general CrossFitter who enjoys doing it, I don't think there's going to be much to worry about. I think it'll always be there.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think you're right, and I think there are so many people that just enjoy the fun fitness side of it.
Oh,
and
it's so
don't
fun.
get
The community level
yeah
of it all. It's
and
fantastic. Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
sometimes too much attention is played to the politics or the ownership or the management, and none of that shit really matters to the average person who just wants to have fun and train every day.
Well, as you know, everybody wants to imagine that they know everything. They got their finger on the pulse. I mean, you see it like, well, so-and-so told me that this is what's going on. Well, so-and-so, everybody has their guess of what's happening in the CrossFit. Nobody knows what's going on in the whole thing. I mean, I have a bunch of people that are on the inside, and they don't even know what's going on.
No one knows. Yeah.
No one knows. No one knows what's really going to happen. I mean, the text last night that you guys were all talking and stuff. I mean, it's just like, okay, well,
maybe
now,
maybe
I
not.
mean, but like, what really, honestly, the boat can kind of like, this ship can kind of sail itself at this point. It really can. Well, you'd really have to fuck it up to sink the ship.
Yeah.
You really would.
And I think fairly early on, the people doing CrossFit were better than the people running CrossFit. You know, the people, the vast majority of the athletes who got really good at CrossFit were better than the people who started it. Like, Glassman was never a great CrossFitter. Dave was never a great CrossFitter. Like, all the people who were like, the sport was built. The quality of the sport was built by the people doing it.
Sure. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, Glassman couldn't be a great CrossFitter. He had, cerebral palsy or whatever his issue was.
Right.
And Castro, he just lacked a lot of
ability,
but he had a good mindset of that military mindset, that scheduling mindset, that time domain mindset. That's what he did when he was in the military. He was the commander guy that set the time signatures and keeping things in on a certain time frame. That was what he did. He was the structural guy. That's why it worked so well with him coming up with the structures and the time domain and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, will they find somebody to kind of fit those shoes? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that is willing to do that. There's a lot of really great programmers out there. I think I should take that back. Actually, a lot of really great ones. There's a very few really good programmers out there, because it's like, it's an art form.
It is.
It has become an art form. And you go from the hopper, how it all originally started, which is throwing a bunch of bingo chips and V5. Now it's there's a total poetry to CrossFitting, programming CrossFit. I don't know who they're gonna get. You said Boz is going to be in on that position, but I don't know who the programmer is going to be. I don't think it'll be Boz.
But I think it is true that there are more good people involved now from a kind of
because
background.
Because CrossFit, you throw a wide enough net, you're gonna start to bring in people. I mean, we saw it from the athletic ability alone in just a 10-year span.
Yeah.
Going from the very beginning of people snatching 175, that was a game's weight.
Yeah.
To people are doing 300 pounds now. It's because the net has now cast to a wider range of athletes that are out there. They were already out there, but now they know about it now. And so they're coming in. And so the ability, like you said, is expanding. Everybody's ability is increasing.
Yeah.
So I think it'll stick around. I don't think it's gonna.
Yeah, I think it'll stick around, and I think as long as people keep enjoying it and keep doing it for the right reasons and the reasons that we all started doing it in the beginning.
You see that happening, especially through the whole pandemic lockdown stuff. There was so much drama going on with it, and what direction it was going with all the people's nonsense of getting caught up with really silly drama. And that kind of, that put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And then you saw these people like de-affiliating, and it was just, the whole thing was getting really silly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see that I think it has recovered a lot since then, and it's good to see everyone. Obviously, we're seeing like a ton of people, not just in the CrossFit RX program, but in all the programs, just back in the gym, just wanting to get on with things, just wanting to get fit, wanting to be healthy.
And that's exciting.
And
that's cool.
It's great to see, and I'm excited for the Open. We're going to be doing the Open at Pharos. I'm thinking about doing this thing where we'll do like
are you affiliating this year?
We're not affiliate.
No,
we're not affiliated, but we're going to do the Open, and we're going to do it on the. Well, I might affiliate. I don't know. Maybe not. But
you might have a couple people that are going to nag at you to do.
Yeah, I know. Maybe. But on the Saturday, we're thinking of doing like a Friday Night Lights thing on a Saturday. I know it sounds
super
weird.
Cool.
But inviting anybody that wants to do the Open can come do the Open at Pharos for free. So anybody that wants that needs a gym, that wants to come train, will have access to visit. We have obviously we have a great facility, we have a big facility. So anybody that wants to come do it, and we'll just like everyone always did, like we'll judge each other, and it'll just be like a fun time. I know some people want to video it if they want to be serious about it, and some people will just do it for fun, whatever it is. But I think we'll do like barbecue, we'll do beers, and we'll do we'll just have a good kind of Saturday fun sesh. And,
that's awesome.
Just get everyone together. I think it'll be fun.
You like that idea?
You like that, Anna?
When is that?
Will you have a beer with me, Anna?
I don't know. It starts, I think the Open is February, like
February 20 something. February 23rd, is it?
Second.
End of Feb, anyway.
I took a screenshot last night, actually.
It'll be end of Feb through March, and we'll do it every Saturday, I think.
That'd be cool.
I got some really cool new stuff coming at the gym, some cool new setup.
New toys?
That'll help. New toys.
New toys.
Or more of the same toys, but yeah.
More barbells.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. It's been great to speak to you both. I enjoyed very much seeing you both in the Wodapalooza, and obviously it's always good to see good people do well, and you both did so well. And I'm excited to see more of you guys doing more great things in the future. And Anna, I'll see you tomorrow. And James, I'll see you next time you're in LA.
You'll see me soon.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, James. Take care, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, you guys. As always, we are open at 1316 Glendale Boulevard. You can come see us anytime. We have a great 22,000 square foot facility. We'd love for you guys to come down, check it out, see what we're all about. You can find us on Instagram at Pharos Echo Park. And feel free to swing by anytime. Until next time, cheers and take care. Bye.
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 Should I actually hang up?
Yeah, leave.
You can if you want.